Let's talk football with you. This temporary rule allowing teams to make up to 5 substitutes on course to become permanent. You for it? Against it? Where'd you stand in it?
Well, I've always been for that. Protect the players, and I don't understand why all the other major European leagues are using it already. But now we're going to have to go to the International Football Association board to actually get this rubber stamped. Won't be till March, but I believe that 5 substitutes is the most sensible way to go forward.
Well, even FIFPro this morning, we understand, in favour of making the 5 subs option permanent. But, I mean, the basic question that comes into play here, Martin, is the top clubs have got players on the bench that we look at and our jaws drop when we think, how can they be on the bench? So are the top clubs going to benefit more than the ones below them? Which is a point that was put yesterday to Burnley boss Sean Dyche.
It's favourable to the big clubs, quite obviously. They carry big squads of top players. It can only be favourable. The more subs and the more availability of subs, the more they can use. It helps keep the group that they might have active and therefore a bit more settled as well. So less on the management off the pitch with a group of professionals who all want to play, which I do understand that side actually, because the way Premier League football and all football, but certainly Premier League football has gone, there are bigger squads factually. There is a lot of money spent on these squads, so I get that side of it.
Where do you stand in it, Martin? Is IFAB bending to the elite clubs here? Are you somewhat baffled by what Sean said there, incidentally?
I wasn't sure what he was saying, in fairness. But what I'm saying is that, at the end of the day, I think if you're going to keep producing more games, you're going to create more and more games, then I think what you need to do is give the opportunity to play more substitutions. Yeah. Okay, if we compare Burnley, because you've mentioned Sean Dyche, if we compare their squad with Man City, that they don't compare. And 1 and 2 subs, never mind 4 and 5, are going to be very much better for Man City than they would be for Burnley. So that's why the Premier League clubs never voted for it. They were given the chance for 5 and they didn't want it because they realised that the top clubs would because it does help the top clubs, you have to say that. But they're playing 6 Champions League games minimum, Europa League games, as West Ham are finding now. So I just think it's right and proper in terms of the welfare of the players that you need to bring 5 extra subs in. It was just interesting watching in midweek. Most of the top clubs did use in the League Cup now. It's been extended to 5 subs. Most were close to 5 substitutions. So they are putting their money where their mouth is, so to speak. Man City only used 4, could have used 5. It was Pep was a big advocate of bringing the 5 subs in. So I think, it does weaken the likes of Burnley, but I think it's right and proper for the players.
Weakens them in terms of it benefits the elite.
It does, because the quality of player in the group
is better.
The 4th and 5th substitute for Man City is still going to be a world-class international player. Maybe not so at Burnley.
But they know. But my argument there, Simon, is Burnley know that anyway.
Yeah,
they know that the 11 City put out are better than their 11.
Yeah, I mean, it's relative to the argument that you're making in terms of the fact that Burnley aren't really competing with Man City. They're competing with Crystal Palace, or they're competing with current incarnation of Newcastle, or they're competing with other sides that are lesser in the Premier League. The challenge for me is I don't necessarily disagree with Martin or agree with him, because the balance is you've got the Premier League is some of all its parts. It's not made up by the 6 teams. We know that they drive the revenues around the world for the overseas broadcasting rights, but the Premier League in all its uniqueness is made up of 20 teams. And if 14 clubs don't want something, it shouldn't be the 6 clubs that just power these things through because it suits their ends. But then the flip side of that argument is if we want our clubs to be successful in Europe and to be a successful platform for our Premier League in Europe, then we can't be disadvantaged by playing these games in Europe with less substitutes than the opposition has got.
Yeah.
My position would be, if the Premier League doesn't want to have 5 substitutes because the quorum of 14 clubs don't want it, then the exception should be that the clubs that play in Europe can use 5 substitutes in Europe. They can use 5 substitutes in the Cup to keep the Cup competitions because they're separate to the domestic leagues, and let the Premier League stay as it is, which is if the 14 clubs that don't want it, or the clubs that don't give them the quorum, let's say, because they need 14 clubs to vote for something to be able to pass a change, then if they don't want it, then the Premier League retains the position that it's in right now. And I can tell you this now. If they get 5 substitutes, I guarantee you within 5 years they'll be back for 7. Because that's how it works in football, right?
Yeah.
So it will never stop.
Yeah.
And the relativity, and as an owner of a football club, I'd be saying to my manager, well, then why have I got a squad of 25 players that I'm paying a lot of money for if you're not prepared to use a lot of these players and rotate them?
Right.
But Jim, is it not the case then? So the International Football Association board, so they've been in place. This has not just happened. This association has been there since 1886. So their job is to standardise the laws for international competition throughout the world. so they can jump in and and rubber stamp this.
Yes.
Can the Premier League not do anything about that?
Yeah, they're going to give the Premier League the option, but I mean,
I don't think. I'm not sure they can enforce it. I think ultimately the leagues themselves opt in or opt out of things like basic principles of rules of how long a game lasts and so on and so forth are one thing, but the adaptation of how you utilise substitutes, I'm not sure it's an enforcement.
Well, when
position.
you listen to Sean Dyche, I mean, his argument is having 5 substitutes only maximises the bigger clubs' potential and increases the disparity between the clubs in the top flight. Is he right about that, or should we just embrace 5 subs coming into the game in general, and the ones below the top 6 have got to make do with the 5 that they field? If you're with me. 08717 223344 81089.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.